Show. Quick disclaimer for viewers, you may have to turn up your volumes. Not sure how great the audio is coming in, but hey, guess what? We're heading back to Norway with a special guest who happens to be from Norway in Norway. Let's go. So as mentioned, I do have a very special guest joining me this really weird morning of wrecking my brain and driving myself crazy.
Testing.
What is this noise coming from?
Testing 1, 2.
What is this? Get out of here. All right. Where is he? Where's my special guest?
Hello.
There he is.
I'm here.
Now, I decided, you know what? Instead of introducing you properly, I think I should first ask what is the proper way to state your name, because I've been talking about you in a lot of streams over the years, including your own products, but I never know if I'm really saying your name properly. So I'll let you introduce yourself so that everyone knows who you are, who this voice is, and then that way I'll know I'll have it right for the future.
Yeah, I guess the name can be a little bit tricky. In Norwegian, it's Jo Erlend. But I'm kind of used to people just calling me Joe. It's a little bit simpler, I guess.
So the Joe is actually pronounced you.
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 Yeah.
Very interesting. So I've been saying Joe and Yo and so anyway, for everyone watching, yeah, this stream is probably. Oh, I'm picking up some background. Is that Twitch? So for those of you watching, this stream is about 4 hours behind scheduled. I had a lot of issues trying to get the sound worked out. So as I mentioned a short while ago, if the sound sounds a little bit too low, you just may have to crank up your sound a little bit. I'm still trying to get my sound issues worked out. But nevertheless, we are in Norway, and this is really exciting because those of you who have been watching my streams knows by now, or at least you should know, how excited I am about Norwegian airports. And all this setup that I've been doing, I forgot to grab my track IR. So today, I'm actually going to be taking a look at 2 airports. Now, Joe, you might be able to help me out here. Because otherwise, I'm really going to be butchering names here. And I figure since we have a proper Norwegian here that can actually help me pronounce some of these names that I keep butchering in all these different live streams that I do. I'm actually, right now we're sitting in Sogndal, which I think is easy enough to pronounce. And this is by the...
Sogndal.
Oh, see, look at that. I can't even pronounce that right. Okay, it's Sandana. Sandana, is that correct?
Yeah, it's close enough, yeah.
It sounds almost like Japanese. Sandana. Okay, see, there we go. See, this is great. This is going to be really, I think, educational for me. But I'm not going to even try to pronounce. So anyway, this scenery is by Andres Hegge, if I'm pronouncing his name right, which I may or may not be doing. And then, so we're going to be taking a look at his most recently released product, and I think this was released. I want to say it was probably last year maybe, but I've been holding off on showing off his latest airport because I've been waiting for your latest work to come out. So, but anyway, help me pronounce where we're going now, and I'm going to try to say it, and then you correct me, but I want to say it's, Sogndal Haukassen? That sounds terrible, I know.
Yeah, that's close. Sogndal.
Sogndal. And then how do you say the second part?
Haukåsen.
Haukåsen. Wow. I see.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
yeah, just roll with that because I'm going to be butchering names all night. So, and then after that, a brief flight over there. We're going to take a quick look at that project, which I've been really excited to try to overview that I hadn't had time to look at yet. And then after that, we'll be heading to your current masterpiece. And am I saying it right? Trondheim Vaernes? That's probably not it either, is it?
Trondheim, Vaernes.
Wow. See, I'm gonna have to go to school just to be able to just to get the airport names right. I'm gonna have to go to school. So anyway, we've got our little aircraft here parked on the ramp, and as you guys always know, I try to do these streams while showcasing multiple projects. So today is already Tuesday. I meant to get to the stream yesterday, but I just didn't get my timing down right. So of all the things that I had hoped to be doing this week before Flight Sim Con, doesn't look like that's actually gonna work out the way I had hoped, because Wednesday's coming and I have a lot of errands to do Wednesday, which means everything that I do has to be done like kind of now. So it's going to be pretty interesting, but I think we're going to make it work. So anyway, let me go ahead and remove the pause button. And let me just check the sound of this. Hopefully our airplane is not too loud. I'm finding myself having to do a lot of sound checks lately because almost nothing works. Let me see here. I might even just turn off the aircraft altogether because I'm not even sure how loud that is. Just to be on the safe side. Okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get underway. Now, I've been really, a lot of you guys that are fairly used to my streams. Oh, this is weird. No, I need the aircraft sound. I don't think I can fly without sound. I do see there is a few people that have gotten up at this odd hour to listen. So for those of you listening in, if you can just give me a heads up if the sound is okay. I'm going to bring that aircraft back up because I don't think I can fly with no sound here. I'll try to keep this at 1. And just kind of hope that that's not going to be too loud. So, Norway, I think as a flight simming destination, it first came on my radar, and I think I've said this a number of times. It first came on my radar many, many years ago, back when Cloud9, for those of you who remember Cloud9, released Bergen, Friesland, and maybe I'm not pronouncing that right either.
That's close enough.
Close enough. See, I think tonight's going to be a slew of just close enough attempts at my terrible Norwegian pronunciations. But Bergen, and when Cloud9 first released that airport, I kept thinking to myself, why did they release this airport? Because it's like way up there in the middle of nowhere, and that was, I guess, my ignorance back in 2005, I think that airport was released. But I had reached kind of a point where I was getting bored of all of my usual airports, and knowing Cloud9 and how good their works were, I eventually became compelled to buy it only because their stuff is so good, A, and B, I needed somewhere new to kind of explore. So I downloaded the free Try Before You Buy demo because, as many of you may or may not know, Cloud9 is really the modern FS Dream Team, which before Cloud9 would have been Lago, as far as retaining a lot of the same developers, and Umberto Calipiccioni, Matthias Koch was a part of that at some point. But anyway, so I downloaded the demo, and my first approach, I was just amazed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is a really amazing airport. And I was, kind of beating myself up that I hadn't bought it sooner. And it quickly became one of my favorite airports as of all the airport add-ons that I had at the time. And I found myself flying there a lot from like Cloud9 Amsterdam and certain other, London Heathrow and other kind of famous add-ons of the time. So then I finally kind of made my way out of FS9 because I did use that for FS9. I think they had an FSX version that you can use.
Yeah,
they did, right? Yeah. So I think if you bought the FS9 version, you got the FSX version for free. So I continued to enjoy it in FSX, which was still enjoyable. It was still fairly enjoyable. But it was just time for somebody to come in and do a proper job on that. Meanwhile, you came on my radar, Joe, and this would have been, gosh, I can't even remember how long. I'm trying to remember like the timing and the years. But
Trondheim or?
No, with Oslo, with your V1 version that you first put up on FS Developer. So if we can think back to
That'll be
when
around
those first previews went.
2010, I think.
What were you saying?
That would be around 2010.
2010. Okay, so
Yeah.
about 2010. So that's when you first came on my radar because you know I always monitored FS Developer for new and upcoming talent, and I don't know if you released any projects, freeware or payware, before that first version of Oslo, but I remember when I first saw those initial screenshots, I was completely blown away. I was like, wow, this guy's got a lot of talent. So going back to 2010 and those first shots, was there any other products prior to that that you had done previously? Or was that really your first?
The first project I did was the first version of Trondheim, actually. That was also in 2010.
Oh, that's right, the
I think it was
Aerosoft.
around January 2010 for Trondheim.
That's right. That's right. I might be. I'm trying to remember now. Was it Trondheim that brought you on my radar first, or was it Oslo? For some reason, I seem to remember you more for Oslo than I do for Trondheim. But was that first version of Trondheim your first release?
Oh, yeah, that was the first one.
And what experience did you have prior to that? Because that release for its day was really, really good. So a lot of developers as a first release don't tend to start off like that well for the first release. So, I mean, what else had you done, or what? I guess what am I trying to say? What experience did you have prior to that led you to such a first successful release?
Oh, thank you. First of all, the thing I've always kind of tried to. Whenever there's like a mod kit or some kind of developer kit for games, I usually try to do some fun stuff with it. So when I started flying in FSX, I started to, well, it was the same time I started to do my private pilot license at Trondheim. I figured out I wanted to try and make a scenery for it as well. So I had a little bit of experience from 3D software before, but not that much, to be honest.
Okay, I'm hearing some of the guys are saying the aircraft sound is a little bit too loud, so I'm just going to go ahead and turn that off altogether because I don't think I can separate the two. And then what product did you develop that in? Was that just like in Gmax, or how did you?
Yeah, that was Gmax, yeah. The regular SDK for FSX.
Okay, so then you released Trondheim, which I assume was successful, was a successful first payware release, because a lot of people might think, okay, maybe I'll release freeware first and get my feet wet. But, I mean, you went just straight to the big leagues right on your first attempt. And I think that was a very successful release. And then next was Oslo. You decided that you'd really go big. So what kind of led you to do that as your second project?
Well, if I remember correctly, Aerosoft asked me if I wanted to do Oslo. And actually, Oslo was the second and Stavanger was the third, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So they asked me if I wanted to do Oslo, and it's a fun airport to do. It's not that big really compared to other European airports, but of course it's a small jump from Trondheim to Oslo in size.
So then you did that, and then next up was did you go to? Where did you go after that?
I think it was Stavanger. Yeah, Stavanger was the third one.
Okay. And then, so going from Oslo to your third release, did you still stick in Gmax, or did you find yourself going into 3DX Max at that point?
I was still using Gmax at that point, yeah.
And then at some point we get up to kind of your current generation of releases, which you finally made your way back to Bergen, which was one of those airports that I had just been longing. I think a lot of us that are fans of Norwegian flying, I think were really longing for someone to do, and you seemed like the appropriate person to do it. And then of course we had, here we go with my butchering, but Tromsø, which is definitely one of my favorites as well. You really got into your detail.
It's a really nice area up north there. It's really, really scenic.
It is. It really is. But then you kind of threw us all a curveball, and headed down to Daytona, which is, I think, it has to be an interesting story. So how did you wind up in Daytona?
Well, I took my private pilot license at Trondheim, and when I finished that up, I went to the U.S. for a couple of years and finished up my commercial license, instructor license, and I worked there as an instructor for a year.
And can we assume which one of the schools was it? One of the major schools that's kind of based there in Daytona that you were a part of, or?
Yeah, it was one of the major ones. Yeah.
And what made you decide to do Daytona? Was it just that, you know what, I'm here, what the heck, or was it something that you really had an interest in doing?
No, it was more like it was a mix actually. I had a lot of students that had issues flying VFR in the area. So I figured it would be a good idea to have a large coverage area of photoreal scenery that students can use to help navigate. And also, it was a fun airport to do. A little bit different than what I'm used to doing Norwegian airports.
And what do you hold any current type ratings, or what aircraft have you flown?
I don't have a type rating. No, I have a frozen ATP in Europe.
And what aircraft have you had experience with?
Oh well, we used to fly Senecas and Diamond at the school in Daytona. And, you know, the regular small aircraft like the Cessna and the Piper Arrow.
And in Norway, what do you fly the most there?
I haven't flown a lot in Norway lately, actually. I flew I can't remember the name of it. It was, it's not a Seneca. It was something when I did my conversion up here. I think it was a Seneca. I'm not quite sure, actually.
So are you telling me that with the amazing landscapes that Norway affords, that you do most of your flying in Florida, which is mostly kind of flat and, you know, you don't have all this wonderful mountainous terrain? I guess it's safer to fly in Florida, though.
Well, as long as you stay high enough, you should be fine, though, in Norway as well.
So that's pretty interesting. So do you find yourself coming back to the U.S. at all often, or was that just kind of a brief sort of 2-year stint and that's pretty much the end of it?
No, I haven't been back since I finished up the training and the instructor time over there.
And how did you wind up down in the Caribbean?
I've actually never been there.
So how did that project come about?
That was the same thing. Aerosoft asked me if I wanted to do Bonaire. They had a guy down there that took at least maybe 3,000 images that they sent me. So I had pretty much pictures of everything, all the small details and everything at the airport, so that helped a lot during development.
Now, I'm sure you saw the live stream that I did on that one, and, you know, I hail it as just a remarkable airport. What was it like doing an airport like Bonaire as opposed to Bergen or Oslo? You know, because I'm sure you've had to create objects and things that, like, you know, certain types of vegetation that don't really exist. I mean, how did you find it different?
Well, it's like the development for Bonaire was actually a lot easier than for some of the other airports, since I got all the images and data and all that I needed beforehand from Aerosoft. So, and also, usually for the project I do, I don't use a lot of objects from older sceneries. I like to kind of try and update the object as well. I don't have a lot of filler objects that I just use over and over again. So it wasn't really that different from other airports compared to that.
And, I mean, do you see yourself doing something like that again in the future?
It could happen, I guess. I don't have any plans right now, but you never know.
What would you say is your favorite project that you've done?
Oh, well, actually, I think it's Trondheim right now.
It's pretty good. We're going to be getting there really soon. I'm actually really excited to see it and talk about it. What was it
That's great.
before Trondheim?
I think it was funny. I'm really happy with the way that one turned out.
It's really different. I mean, you're dealing with a lot of, you're going from sort of a
It's a
lot
lot
of
of pink.
a lot of pink. I was going to say that. I mean, it's that pink really sort of sets the entire atmosphere for that
Yeah, it sure
airport.
does.
So yeah, it's if it's anything that could possibly be the exact opposite of kind of I think what the flight simulation community has sort of come to know you for in terms of your style, that just completely went the exact opposite direction. But I think what it showed is kind of your ability to diversify in terms of location and style, which I think is something that really caught a lot of people off guard. I think there are some developers out there that get typecast. Like you think of a certain developer and you just know them for doing, certain specific types of products in certain locations and that's it. But I mean, you really kind of
Yeah.
throw it's like, what's his name? The actor, his name escapes me at the moment, but the actor who played the dad in Malcolm in the Middle, and then he went and did Breaking Bad. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you just completely, went kind of the opposite direction. But yeah, I think it paid off really well. Now, let's talk about KDM a little bit because this is another Norwegian development team that kind of came
Yeah.
on my radar. What I think a couple years ago. I think they've been around for a couple years now, and they've
I
been
think it's
getting.
longer, isn't it? Or,
Has it been that long? Sometimes as I get older, I kind of lose track of, how old things or how long things have been around. So sometimes I think, oh, this developer's only been around for, a year or so. And it turns out they've been around for 4 years. But how did that whole sort of collaboration start up between the two of you?
well, there hasn't really been any collaboration between us. I'm not sure what project you're thinking of.
I think because of, or I could be remembering it wrong, but I thought that you were kind of like an assistant in some capacity in terms of helping them kind of
Oh yeah,
make
well,
their way.
if he had some questions at the beginning, yeah, to help him out a little bit, but nothing specific to a project, no.
I see. And did they just kind of reach out to you? Were they kind of fans of your work, or?
Yeah, yeah.
So that worked out pretty well, and they've kind of branched off and done their own thing as well. To Norwegian, or actually, well, I guess you could consider Longyear part of Norway, right? So you have
Yeah, well,
at least two Nordic destinations, and then they moved down to the south of Italy as well. So they have a lot of promise. Have you had any communication with other the Orbx developers?
well, I talked a little bit to Tore, the guy who did Norway a while back, but not that much contact with him now.
And do you, as a developer, because this is one of the questions I always like to ask developers, is do you have or do you find time to really fly much in Flight Simulator, or is your time mostly just sort of comprised of development?
It's pretty much 98% development, I guess.
So you don't get to enjoy Flight Sim that much.
No, yeah, I leave that up to you guys, I guess.
Let's see here. Just taking a look I think we're the only two here. Just taking a look at TeamSpeak. So if you're just joining us right now, I have the amazing, I'll try to pronounce your name properly at least just once so everyone hears it properly, or at least hears me say it properly, but I'm going to say, oh crap, you know what? No, I better not. But I am with the legendary Joe Erland, who is well known for his amazing Norwegian masterpieces, as well as Daytona and Bonaire, which is a little bit outside the borders. Now, obviously, a lot of people are probably dying to know what's going to come next or what you're working on in the future. And I know you can't tell us about it, but maybe hinting, at least if not in the near future, in the far future, do you think we'll still see more works coming from this region of the world, would you say?
Well, it's definitely going to be more from this region, yeah, that's for sure. Right now, I'm looking into converting some more of my airports to X-plane, as well as getting them compatible with P3D V4, and make sure I include some of the new features from the latest version of Prepare 3D.
And speaking of X-Plane,
Yeah.
how, because you did a couple of recent releases. Bonaire was one of them.
Yeah,
There was
Bonaire
another
is
one.
not released yet, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I saw that in the Aerosoft forum. So it's not released
Yeah,
yet.
the previous red, yeah.
And then you did release one recently, I think.
Yeah, released Oslo for X-Plane.
And how was that? How is the transition from Prepared or FSX to X-Plane getting a project into that platform? How much additional effort goes into that?
It's a little bit different than what we're used to in FSX or P3D. They have their own method for ground polygons and all that stuff, so all that usually has to be completely redone. Also, for the models, they have a limit there, so you can only have one texture per model. So you have to start and split up models into different textures. So you can't just place one model that has multiple textures. So it's a little bit of work to get them working correctly.
Are you referring to like draw calls?
Well, yeah, technically there's only one draw call per model, not like in FSX where you can have multiple draw calls in one model, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, well, it only makes sense to me because you explained it to me during a lot of our late night chats during sort of the testing of Trondheim. And how have you found the sort of cost benefit ratio between converting airports over to X-Plane? Because it's not just a simple conversion process, as you mentioned. The ground polygon has to be different, and the way X-Plane handles certain elements of the scenery. So it's a bit of work. So have you found the cost benefit to be worth it thus far?
We'll wait and see a little bit. X-Plane is still kind of young, I guess we can say. So the majority of the customer base is still in FSX and P3D, so that's where the main income will be from, I guess. But still, hopefully, X-Plane will grow a little bit over time.
And what other major differences might X-Plane users see in their version of Oslo versus the variant that's in FSX and Prepared?
Major differences. So of course the lighting system for the runway and all the floodlights and all the effects is going to be different. That's handled kind of a lot better in X-Plane compared to the other sims. Also, they have a method that makes it a lot easier to create stuff like airport marshal, so you can have a marshal guiding you to the parking position, all that stuff. So, pretty much all the modeling and all that stuff is going to be pretty much the same between those sims, but it's a lot easier to influence the model and make it more dynamic, like what we're doing with Soda, right? Now having different variables like wind speed affecting a windsock and all that stuff. That's all built into X-Plane from the beginning.
I see. So there's a lot of elements that you also don't have to worry about dealing with.
Yeah, that's true.
So when was this? This was maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. I had a number of developers on just sort of talking about the future of flight simulation and kind of talking about, their where they stand in regards to Prepared and X-Plane and Flight Sim World. And for the most part, the census is they all pretty much stand very, very vehement with Prepared in the direction that Lockheed Martin's going. How do you see yourself fitting into that whole sort of realm in terms of platforms?
Well, Lockheed Martin has been really great when it comes to including third-party developers in the process. So, for example, for like Flight Sim World, we're kind of still waiting to see what kind of SDK we get and what's possible in the sim, since they haven't released any developer kit for it yet. So we'll have to wait and see what happens there.
Yeah, that's also a good question as well. I think for quite a few developers also. And like as you said, I mean, prepare the developers there are really helpful to the community, which is, I think, another reason why so many developers are really keen to sticking with the Lockheed Martin team in the long haul, because, you know, you guys are definitely afforded, I think, a privilege that developers never really had with Microsoft. So to actually have some kind of input, and granted, not everything that you guys might ask for might make its way in, but it certainly goes a lot further than, you know, developers had with Microsoft back in the day, where
that's true.
Yeah, they just release a platform and everyone just had to, you know, figure out, you know, how they were going to deal with it. So meanwhile, I'm trying to do this approach and I can't hear the aircraft, so this is going to be really weird. I think I came in a bit too
kind of high, I guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to bleed it off and clean it up. I might have to go around. I'm coming in kind of hot. We'll see what happens if I can make this work.
It looks like a really nice airport, though.
It does. And this is one of the things that I really love about Norway, are these fantastic approaches like this. The airport that we just left, definitely Narvik is one of them, and that's the whole thing. Is I never had any idea that Norway had this much to offer, aviation wise, because it seems like you guys just sort of pick the worst place to put an airport and then decide this is the best place to put an airport.
Well, we don't have a lot of options, I guess, in that area.
Yeah, the terrain.
It's only fjords and mountains.
Exactly. So it definitely, from a flight simulation perspective, it definitely makes for a lot of fun. So I think I managed to not screw this up too bad. So, and this is actually my first time seeing this airport.
And it was the same developer as the first one?
Yeah, Andres Heggie, I think his name is.
Okay.
If I do say it right. If I didn't, Andres, forgive me. But yeah, this is my first time approaching the airport and actually seeing it firsthand. So what I generally try not to do is spend too much time at an airport before stream, because it's a lot more fun to kind of experience it and discover it for the first time, as opposed to like with Trondheim, where I've been seeing so much of it, but yet, you know, I still have a lot that I want to talk about that. In this case, it's a very small airport, so it'll only take us a minute to kind of take a quick look.
Yeah.
And we have so many options for Norway now. It's actually pretty incredible. Between yourself and some of the other developers at Aerosoft, I think your last release, that was, I'm trying to remember.
Alta?
Alta, okay, no, wait.
Yeah.
Not Alta, the one before that.
No, it was Vaernes. Sorry.
Veroy, that's the island that's like way out there, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, because there is a story behind that. And again, I might be remembering some of this wrong, so you can correct me, but I think there's kind of a story behind Veroy, because I remember Aerosoft announcing it like a long time ago, because I think a developer was working on that, and I think they showed off the first previews.
That was me, actually.
So were you the one who showed off the first previews over on FS Developer of that project?
Yeah, man, that was a long time ago.
It was.
Yeah, I started to develop it. I wasn't really happy with it, so I started working on some other projects. It was Bergen and Tromsø, I think I switched over to, and then I picked it up again later on to finish it up.
I see, because for some reason I had myself under the impression that it was another developer, and then I was thinking to myself, did you pick it up from another developer? Or?
Oh no, it was me.
What did you find at the time that wasn't that you what in other words, what were you not happy about with that project?
Uh, I felt I could do the terrain model a little bit better than what it was. So that was basically the reason. So the terrain model was completely rebuilt. The same with, well, pretty much everything was rebuilt. The internal buildings, textures, and all that. So yeah.
Well, I can definitely say you definitely nailed the 3D sort of modeling of the island. That was pretty incredible.
Well, thank you.
And I guess that's one of the things that I've been complaining about in the past is that, you know, I guess it's something to do with the way Flight Simulator handles views. It's weird. I don't know how to put my finger on it, but whenever you use a lot of PR, depending on how the zoom is, you get these blurries. Like, for example, with Jared Marshall's what's that? Sedona, beautiful scenery, beautiful sort of immersion around the airport. But depending on the range of zoom, that terrain can really look blurry sometimes. And I think that's just a limitation on Flight Simulator. And so when what's his name, the Italian
Matt,
guy?
can you go back to the trees again? Those look
They did look good, didn't they? Yeah, I wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think these are nature. What do they call it? Nature flow or object flow? Yeah, these trees look very good. So I'm trying to remember what his name is, but the Italian guy who did the Alps scenery, and he was with Orbx for a short period of time. He did the Monument Valley. So I don't know if he kind of pioneered that whole thing of kind of doing it that way, but you know, from my opinion, it's like that's the way developers should go because you get that crisp, very clear sort of resolution on terrain, and it doesn't matter how far away you get from it, it's going to hold that same shape and resolution no matter what. So, yeah. So I definitely, when it comes to Vaernes, that was definitely the way to go with that scenery. And then you still really kept the attention to detail in certain areas like the terminal where you still kind of had that internal modeling. I think for a minute there, I almost thought the Avatar could walk through the whole thing because of how you did that with such a small scenery.
Oh yeah, with the stairs and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you can't do that. Sorry.
So just some quick thoughts on pronounce this word for me one more time. Save me from having to do it.
Which one? The airport here?
Yeah, I know you're in a bit of a delay, but I've just moved up to the main tower, so that it's better if you read it than me.
Sogndal, Høkåsen.
Wow, I can't do that. There's actually one quick question in the chat, and I can't pronounce that word either. But if you want to take a quick look at the chat, he's asking if you did that particular airport. I know if I try to pronounce it. I think I called it Svalbard or something like that. I don't know in that stream. I know I did cover that one though.
Yeah, I did Svalbard, yeah.
Svalbard, okay. So just some quick thoughts for Andres, who's done this airport that we're looking at now. I'm really loving the ground textures here and the ground markings. Is that airplane disappearing?
Yeah, it looks good.
Look at that. The airplane disappears as I pan away from it. That's kind of weird.
It's the boundary box of the model. So when you move the camera outside the boundary box, it's going to unload the model.
Oh, that's what it's doing. Okay. I was like, is that a chase plane thing or what? Might be. So, yeah, really liking the PR here. Lots of little attention to detail, the little rocks and stuff down here. I'm liking the vegetation as well. You pointed out the trees. I like the little grass down here. Actually, I initially, because I loaded up the simulator 5 or 6 times as I was kind of working out my issues, and so I initially had it kind of like in spring where you still have quite a bit of snow on the ground. So I forgot to go back and do that, but just kind of looking at the parking lot area, which is one of the areas that I tend to point out quite a bit here as well. But I mean, it's a small scenery, but it's in essence it's perfect because you're getting the exact right amount of detail, but really what the scenery has to offer for the most part is just that amazing approach and those views kind of coming in and out. So again, this sort of marks as another winner and definitely another, I think, amazing destination for Norway. This is really going to fit in really nicely with all the airports that the developers are doing. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, at least on behalf of Aerosoft, is there another developer that's doing it, or is it really all just you? I want to think there's another one.
For the last for Oslo and Svolvær, a friend of mine helped me out with some of the modeling for those.
But pretty much, or yeah, I guess that's it. So you're pretty much outside of the three Orbx guys, and of course whatever freeware that we have out there. You're pretty much dominating Norway.
Well, we have Joachim as well.
Oh, who is that?
It's the guy who made Torp for Aerosoft.
Oh, right, from KDM.
Yeah, KDM. Yeah.
KDM, and then of course we have Tor, whom I love to point out because he did that incredible job of Narvik. Well, what's your opinion on that, by the way?
It's fantastic. It's perfect, really.
Yeah, he completely nailed that. So now we're looking forward to Bodo, which I think is going to be another exciting one. And I can only imagine that Aerosoft is probably constantly coming to you. And how does that work, by the way? When they have an idea for an airport, do they kind of give you like a list of what they think are good airports and you kind of pick and choose between them? Or do they just say, you know, we think you should do this airport and you just kind of go with that?
Well, usually I kind of decide on myself really what I want to do, unless they have something specific they want to have done for some reason. But usually I just pick the projects I want to do myself.
Just making sure I spool up the RPMs here before I try to get off this aircraft carrier. And now we are finally heading to Trondheim. And so I was one of those FS whiners. That's basically what they called it, which were FS niners, FS whiners, where I basically rejected FSX for the longest time. I was one of those people. And
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I'm sure you do, because one of the biggest disappointments of my flight sim life was when you were showing off Oslo, that first version. And I remembered how amazing it looked. And I remember a bunch of us bugging you, please, FS9, pretty, please. And I think you were like, maybe, I'll think about it once the project is done and we'll see about backporting it or something. And we all rejoiced. And then in the end, it turned out you weren't going to do it. And so many of us were just so heartbroken. And that was kind of the case as well with Trondheim. And it's funny because I had a very brief stint in FSX because it wasn't that I didn't want to make the jump. It's just FSX had so many bugs and it never really ran well for me. And kind of my savior was when Lockheed Martin released that first version of Prepared. And I remember back then so many people were like kind of outright rejecting Prepared because, you know, there was this really crazy EULA that they didn't understand, which to this day a lot of them still don't. You know, I think under the table we're all like, Lockheed loves us, and maybe they don't care, maybe they do, maybe they don't, I don't know. But a lot of people were like, what is this weird Prepared, and you know, why does Lockheed Martin, what do they want to do with this? And maybe they're going to use this for, you know, military applications. And so a lot of people kind of looked at it like, this is just weird, and I'm not touching that. I'm staying off of it. And even to this day, to my knowledge, I was the very first person to stream Prepared because a lot of people were concerned about this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because a lot of people were afraid about the EULA and, you know, that you can't show it off or you can't stream it and it's only for this purpose or that purpose. And I remember the first time I streamed it because I discovered that it was literally the first version of Prepared. And unfortunately, it's not on YouTube because back then I didn't have a way to export my streams back then. But I remember doing the stream and kind of, thinking to what, a lot of the other streamers who were kind of refusing to touch it. And I remember in that very first stream saying, fuck it, I don't care, I'm going for it. And I just did. I just kind of went for it. And then suddenly a few others were like, screw it, we'll do it. But even then, a lot of people were still really, really reluctant and adamant in terms of getting involved with Prepared. And people, I think, really didn't start taking it seriously, I think, until probably that kind of 2.5 is when I think more people started really taking it seriously. But it really wasn't until after version 3 that people were really like, okay, wow, this is something that's getting pretty serious. And of course now with version 4 out there, that seems to be the only thing that people are talking about right now was version 4 of Prepared. But thinking back to that first version of Trondheim and just those first screenshots on Aerosoft, and I'm just like, man, that just looks like an awesome airport. And again, I was a big fan of Bergen. And then of course you had done Oslo. Back then there still really wasn't much else available. There was one other one that Aerosoft released a long time ago. It's like in the Southwest. I'm trying to remember the name of that airport.
I think they did didn't they do a Scandinavian airports pack or something like that with Stockholm and Oslo and Bergen in one package? I think.
Oh, I didn't know they did that. You're talking about
That's a long time ago, though.
Yeah, okay, that would have been way back in the day. But they did another one. I can't remember the name of it. I'm wondering what developer that was. It's sort of a major airport, but it's like in the Southwest, so it's south of Bergen, and it's definitely far west of Oslo. I can't remember the name of that airport. Eventually it's going to come to me. I can't remember, but it's definitely an FSX airport, as far as I can remember. But I think other than that, the SimWing stuff was definitely outdated. Yeah, because I know what you're talking about, and I had those packages as well, those old SimWings packages where back then you could release 30 airports for $20 or whatever it was. Those days are long gone now. But
yeah, the development time was a bit shorter then.
Yeah. Oh, there we go in the chat. Stavanger. There we go. That's the one I'm thinking of. Do you know what developer did that?
I did Stavanger.
Oh, that was you. Gosh.
Yeah, that was me.
I didn't realize.
That was the third one after the first version of Oslo.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, like you said, it's all you. So
like Disc is asking if Svolvær is going to be compatible with the new version of Stovde. Yeah, it's going to be compatible, and I'm working on updates for P3DV4 for all those airports.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think you have a number of those already almost ready for beta, right?
Well, yeah, we have Oslo, Tromsø, and Bergen is technically ready for P3DV4, so we just have to finish up installers and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to diving into those right after Flight SimCon and my vacation once I get P3DV4 back up and running, because I was on the beta. So, my beta has run out, and so it's like, okay, do I really have time to install again? And because it was only a beta, I still had space left on the hard drive, but now that I'm ready to dive in 100% and start getting all these add-ons, that's going to be another terabyte hard drive that I'm going to have to go out and get, and I'm sure another number of other people are thinking that as well, because I think most of us are not giving up version 3.4 or whatever we're on right now. I think not for a long time, but I think a lot of us are going to run them, I think, in tandem until we finally feel secure enough that most of our add-ons work, that we can say goodbye to the current version of P3D. But so yeah, I had a brief stint in FSX, and that lasted maybe 6 months, and then that first version of Prepared came out. And then once that came out, immediately I was like, I ran after Trondheim. I was like, okay, I got to get that, because I had been waiting so long for that. Ran out and bought the first version of Oslo, because these were the airports that I was missing out on in FS9. So, and then I remember with Oslo, I'm like, man, this still looks pretty damn good. And then by the time I got comfortable with that, you were coming out with V2. And V2, V2 was so many light years ahead of that first version. So I looked at that first version, I was like, ew.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel
I
the same
could.
thing.
Yeah, I mean, you outdid yourself so well to the point where it's like I couldn't bring myself to go back and look at the first version anymore, just because I mean, how far your talent has come over the years. It's pretty spectacular.
Well, thanks. Thanks.
Just seeing here.
So yeah, and also for Oslo, there's going to be some updates to the new terminal building, since that's completed now, and they started using it since when I developed V2. They were only planning on building a terminal, so it wasn't 100% accurate compared to what it is now.
Yeah, I remember reading an article, and I can't remember where I read that because I read a lot of these sort of architectural digest type magazines and stuff. And yeah, there was a firm that came in, and because I think the airport just wanted it. Maybe I don't know if it was that they just weren't 100% happy with the look of it or whatever it was, but they wanted another firm to come in and sort of kind of, make it pretty. And I really like the use of wood.
Yeah, it's kind of strange when you think about it, but it looks really good.
It does, and that's like one of those things I think you only could really see in Europe. We don't see anything like that here in the States, especially like the type of architecture and stuff that they did with that as well. So we're heading over to Trondheim now. Let me take a look at the time, because I think, how long is this flight going to be? I might need to speed things up a bit. This thing is actually saying 7 minutes, but I feel like it's going to be a little bit longer than that. So I'm going to speed up the time a little bit. But while I do this, tell us a little bit about what's new that we can expect in this new version of Trondheim. And by the way, I think we're looking at an imminent release, right? How far away from release are we looking at right about now?
Well, if everything works as it should now, this week maybe.
So sometime this week.
Yeah.
Let me see. Oh, simulation rate. I'm looking for a simulation rate because it's one of those things that I never ever touch. So it's like, okay, I have to actually look for that. This is actually a little bit hard on the eyes watching it bounce around like that. Let's see if I can turn that down a bit. No, not really. I guess that's just the actual natural turbulence that it's flying through.
It looks kind of bumpy.
Yeah, it is. I turned them all down, but it's still swinging down there pretty hard. All right, I think I'll stop it here because now the scenery is going to need time to reload. Take it back to normal, give the scenery some time to come back. Yeah, so tell us a little bit about some of the new features that's been incorporated in Trondheim.
Well, yeah, it's a complete rebuild from the old one, so there's nothing left of that one. The airport itself has seen some pretty major expansions compared to when I first released it. They have a new terminal building, and well, it's they pretty much extended the Terminal A towards the west, and have a whole new commuter terminal there now. And there's a whole new terrain model for the airport itself, so you get the elevated taxiways over the road and the railroad and all that stuff. And it has soda functionality, so you have animated jetways, and you also have passenger animations during when the gate is connected to the aircraft. And yeah, I guess we'll have a look at it and we can talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, we're almost there. I went on ahead and hit the sluice so we can get there a little bit quicker. Because I know your time is busy.
That's the safest way.
Although early in the morning, this seems to be the kind of the time that you're up. Is this what time of the day do you usually find that you have the most free time to work on your sceneries?
Well, usually during the morning, yeah.
And is this like many other developers? Do you find yourself doing this full time, or do you
Yeah,
actually
it's
have a
full
day
time. Yeah,
job?
it's full time.
So if that's the case, Flight Sim development treats you quite well.
Yeah, it's okay.
It does all right. There's one question in there, which is an easy question to answer, but I'll let you answer it anyway. There's a question about FTX Norway and how well your airports work. I guess we'll also that question will be answered shortly because we'll be approaching the airport and you'll get to see in real time how it affects with FTX Norway. But you want to talk about that a little bit, just making sure that your products work well with the Orbx add-ons?
Yeah, it's compatible. It includes different versions of the photoreal images. Since FTX Norway has it switches seasons at a different month than the default season. So inside the config tool, you'll have an option to select if you have FTX Norway or not.
That was easy. All right, and we are actually just, let me see, why is this saying 34 minutes? Let's see, I might speed us up a little bit more. I thought we were closer than we actually were.
Yeah, I have no idea where you are.
I am. Well, I can try to. Here, I'll spell the name of a town, and then you tell me how to pronounce it. Melhus.
Melhus.
And then
Maybe?
here's one with the. How do you pronounce when you have the A kind of roll into the E here? There's one town here that's Klaebu.
Krab.
Krab.
Yeah, so the A is a something like that.
Oh, is that so? When the A and the E kind of roll it together like that, that's the sound that it has, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's a strange language, I know.
Oh, what happened here? Something froze. No way! It's gone.
Did it freeze?
It did. It did. It didn't even get like a crash to death. It just like I've never had that happen before. It just like Prepare It was just gone. It froze and then it just disappeared. It was just out. It probably didn't like how I was forcing the slew mode that way. Maybe. Yikes.
Wow.
That's all right. We'll bring it back. Should only take a minute. It was here and then it was gone. Okay. No worries. We were close though. Yeah.
They're right there.
Yeah, the someone in the chat is just saying they're like right next to each other. We were so close. So the senior was probably loading and then it was probably catching up from the slewing that I was doing. So that's all right. We'll just start off at the airport. And how many hours in a day do you devote to flight simulation development?
Oh, that's way too many, I guess. Yeah. Lately now, it's been way too much getting all the P3D V4 updates ready and also the X-Plane stuff for Bunny Air and stuff like that.
How do you manage your time? Like, I mean, right now, I'm sure you can't tell us what projects you have coming up, but how many projects are you currently working on at the moment?
If I include, well, like I'm working on updating all of the ones I've done to P3D V4 though. That's a bunch. And for the next project, I'm actually not quite sure which one I'm gonna go for, but I should know within a couple of weeks, maybe.
So you have a short list.
Yeah, right now it's a short list. Yeah.
Fairly large size like Oslo, or sort of sticking around the same size as the last few airports you released?
Most likely it's gonna be a bigger one. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that the bigger ones take time, but those are definitely the winners. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's true.
Let's see. Still waiting for prepare to load. So any chance we can talk you into coming out to Flight SimCon for next year?
For next year, yeah, maybe that'll be fun. It's a
I
long
know.
flight, though.
Huh?
It's a long flight, though, getting there.
Yeah, it would be for you. Actually, that's a good question. Where do you live? I mean,
I
you
live
can
in
tell
Oslo.
me. I probably wouldn't know, but
Well, Fornebu. That's the old airport at Oslo.
oh, okay, in that area.
Yeah, I live right there actually.
Oh, okay.
That's where the old runway used to be.
So at the very least, you don't have to go very far to get to an airport. That's a good thing.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, a lot of affordable flights nowadays between the U.S. and Norway. Now we've got that Norwegian air shuttle. That's kind of
Yeah.
They've created quite an upset because they started doing flights to L.A. from, I believe it was from Oslo, but then they started doing flights to Paris straight from L.A. and all these other destinations. And so now we've got other airlines that are now coming in that are trying to take advantage of that. So we got this WOW. I don't know if you heard of WOW, this big pink Airbus A330 that is based out of, it's either Reykjavik or Keflavik, one of the two. And so now they're trying to compete by getting people, I guess, to go through Iceland into mainland Europe.
Okay.
So now there's another one called Level. I don't know if you heard of Level, but I guess they're a Spanish-based airline. So now they're all trying to compete with flights to Europe for like $55. So I guess as long as you don't check in any bags and keep your carry-on short, you can risk it.
Yeah, that's the thing with the low cost. So it can be a pain to fly them, but usually it works out okay.
Yeah. This 50 is saying that Norwegian Air Shuttle flies right into Connecticut? Really? I didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either. That's news to me, too. I know Aer Lingus flies into that airport, but so far they're the only international carrier going in there. And I think they have pre-clearance, too.
Yeah, I know Norwegian flies to Orlando at least. I think it's Orlando. Yeah, Orlando.
Well, he's saying that they fly into Connecticut, so I guess we just took away an excuse. So I guess you should just start packing now. You've got 5 days to get down here.
No, it would be fun, though, for sure. You should have been to Paderborn for the Aerosoft conference.
You know, it's funny. They invited me out. When was that? I think last year. Nathalie from Aerosoft actually invited me out. I think they were having their, 20th anniversary or something like that. I think they were doing.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it was something they were doing. They invited me to come out, but unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it. Working in the airline industry myself, when I need to be at work, I need to be at work, and so I think I had already taken off like 4 weeks of vacation prior to that. So there wasn't going to be any more vacation until the end of the year, unfortunately. All right. That's so we are now here on the ground finally, but I need to make some adjustments here with Chase Plane because this helicopter is rattling like really hard.
It's a bit shaky.
Yeah, I'm trying to turn that off. There it
The
goes.
windshield is kind of opaque, though.
Yeah, that I need to. That's the weather.
Okay.
So I need to, let's get these vents on here and try to clear that out. All right, those should clear out any moment now. There we go. And now we're here, finally.
Here we are.
So, I've had the pleasure of kind of doing some testing of this scenery with you over the past several weeks, and from the moment that I got it installed and working, it was instant just love, because again, when I think back to that first version of Trondheim that you released way back in the day, and like I said short while ago, that was like one of the first airports that I was gunning for when I went into P3D, because it was one of those airports in FS9 that I really felt I was missing out on. And it's funny because when you go back and look at it now, and that was one of the first things I did, was I went back and looked at the screenshots just to try to remember how different it was. I know that I was desperate enough to try to install it and prepared, and it doesn't work at all because of, well, you can probably explain why it doesn't work, but
yeah, well, it doesn't work in the new version since P3D removed some of the legacy code for the model, basically.
So that was a disappointment, and it was funny too because when I installed it initially, which I think was at some time after Tor had released Narvik, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to see if I can get Trondheim working. And I didn't realize it didn't work until I was on approach. And then I saw this hideous. Yeah, it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. This hideous thing looking back at me. Yeah. So I went back and pulled up some screenshots just to try to remember what that older version looked like. And zero comparison at all. There's just no comparison at all. Just to all the details and everything that you've put in here. So tell us a little bit about the surroundings before we get into the airport itself.
Yeah, welcome to hell, I guess.
I was going to say that. So tell us a little bit about the landmarks. Yeah.
So, well, it pretty much covers the close proximity of the airport with the photoreal node stuff. So it doesn't extend too far out, but it still gives a pretty good coverage of the area and the valley that the airport's in.
And is that how you actually pronounce that? Is that hell?
Yeah, pretty much the same way.
And what is the explanation behind that being up there on the?
There's some old Norse thing, I guess. I'm not quite sure what it was. Well, I don't think it's related to hell. That's the Viking hell, I guess. I think it's a different reason why it's called that.
I see. Yeah, I would assume so, but I have just as much imagine there's probably a story somewhere behind that.
Yeah.
And we found a moving train.
Yeah, there we go.
And the funny thing is I don't remember seeing this train before during the testing.
This scenery, or?
Yeah, I don't know how it was that I missed this.
So you can see there's also the new bridge for the railroad, but I still wanted to include the old one because I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, I agree as well. And you have the train using the old bridge as well. And then one of the bridges were actually removed too. You could see the supports there sort of sticking out.
Yeah.
Which is also a nice feature. So a short while ago, you said that Trondheim is currently your favorite release. Tell us why that is. Even though it's not released yet.
I think it's kind of fun. That's where I started, right? That's the first airport I did. And it's kind of fun to look back at the first one and see the difference between this and the old one. And also, it was fun to do. It's a lot of fun modeling and texturing on this airport.
Tell us about some of the challenges you had this time around with version 2.
Well, the most difficult part, I guess, would be the getting the terrain model to work properly, and also making sure that all the draw orders so that the light show correctly and all that stuff is working. And also the terminal and the terminal interior and getting the passenger to board the aircraft through the gates and all that stuff. That was the main difficult things to get working.
And from beginning to finish, how many months or years or man hours went into this?
Let's see. Well, I didn't work on this project full time from the beginning, though. So I started maybe 1.5 years ago, or something like that, just doing a little bit of modeling. I started with the interior, actually, trying to figure out a good way to do the interior of the terminal quickly. But full time, I guess it's a year to develop this one.
Mm-hmm. And a lot of attention to detail and surroundings. To be honest with you, I don't know where the scenery ends and where FTX Norway begins. It's kind of hard to tell where that threshold is.
It should be a little bit further out.
Okay, so we're still really in the coverage area then.
Yeah.
And these trees, I'm trying to think, are any of these trees part of your libraries, or this is all?
This would be the. I think you have replaced the default autogen with FTX.
Okay, yeah, because I did see some of your vegetation in here somewhere, and I'm just trying to figure out.
Yeah, it's closer to the airport now. We're going to start seeing the vegetation for the scenery itself.
Okay, so these would definitely be your trees objects here.
Yeah.
And so far, just based on the previews that you've shown, because it isn't released yet, we are hoping for a release this weekend or at some point this week. Hopefully in time for Flight Sim Con. But what's been sort of some of the feedback that you've received thus far, just via the Aerosoft forums and fans?
I don't know. People have been really, really positive. It looks like people want a new version of Trondheim, especially since the first version is not compatible at all with P3D at the moment. So
right.
It's good to get a new and fresh scenery.
And let me see. I'm just going to move into.
So the area we're flying over now, that's the old flight school for the military at Trondheim.
What is this used for now?
Right now, it's still technically a what you're going to call it. The military still use it, but it's nothing related to flight or anything like that.
What's your favorite part about the scenery?
Well, I guess that would be the terminal area.
And one of the big, just looking at these trees. Did you develop some of these vegetation models for this scenery?
Yeah, some of these are new for the scenery. Yeah.
And I want to just come down a little bit low here because I want to show off some of my favorite parts about the scenery here. Let me see here. I think Chase Plane. I'm going to pause here really quick. Oh, you know what it is? Oh, it's my head. It's Trek IR. Is the fact that you actually have the runway going over the roads, which is a big deal. Actually, I think I should turn on my animated car traffic, huh? I think that's it. It uses the default traffic, correct?
I'm sorry?
The roads, they use default traffic, correct?
Not the ones around the airport. You have custom traffic there. So if you move to the other side, you should see car traffic.
Oh, I see. They don't go through these tunnels then, because I remember for sure seeing cars.
On the other side, they're going to have the default road traffic.
Okay, actually, you know what? I see them now. There they are. How difficult is it having to do these terrain manipulations?
I'd say it's not really difficult. It just takes a lot of time to get it looking accurate.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorite aspects of the scenery. Because I remember back in the day, a lot of developers would just put the photoreal in there, and I think the rest was just kind of left to the imagination.
Yeah.
But this definitely makes a huge difference to actually be able to kind of taxi the aircraft over these bridges and see traffic going underneath them.
Yeah, that's the thing that's bothering me with FSX and P3D, that they don't really support slope runways and taxiways and all that. It would be adding much more depth to the scenery if you had some kind of elevation there as well.
And I think I saw a couple of comments down there. One person saying that the runway textures look great.
Well, thank you. So that's also something that's new now compared to the old version, is that they extended the runway even further out into the fjord.
Are there any heavies that actually land here?
There's some, usually when there's like NATO training and stuff like that, they have, what's the one called, the one the US has, the transport aircraft?
Oh, the A400?
I think so. So yeah, there's usually a lot of military traffic when that's going on, and there's some 747s landing as well. It's not often though.
Yeah, you can definitely see the difference where I guess this is like somewhat concrete, and then the rest is sort of tarmac from where they made the extensions.
Yeah.
Oh, one person's saying that there's a charter A330 that comes in every week. I wonder where they park that beast.
Yeah, usually when they have really large aircraft, they park on the DI's ramp next to the fire building.
I see. And then here we have a combination of AI, and I believe these Wedro Q300s are your statics.
Yeah, the ones standing at an angle, they're going to be static aircraft. So those can be switched off if you don't want to use them with the config tool.
Oh, they look good. I think we'll keep them. You put in the hard work. Why not?
Appreciate it.
And here we're just taking a look at the train station here. Leading straight into the airport. There's a lot of elevation variations here.
Yeah.
And here we have the Radisson. This was probably a former SAS Radisson, I'd probably guess.
I would guess so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was before, yeah.
I'm trying to see the sign here. Blue. And this is very nicely done, the way this hotel is, kind of elevated on these pylons here.
Yeah, it's a really cool design of the hotel, yeah.
And you used your own image for the sort of the specular map, or was it specular mapping? Is that what I'm thinking? It's probably like pushing 5 o'clock a.m. my time, so forgive me in advance if my brain is already falling apart. But yeah, you've used your own custom mapping here.
Are you talking about the reflection itself?
Yeah.
The reflection, that's something called a cube map. So yeah, it's a custom cube map for the airport. And what you do then, you basically take an image in each direction, so north, south, east, and west, and you stitch that together to a 360-degree image that's reflected off the windows. And the specular map, that just tells the model where it should have reflection or specularity.
I see. Yeah, it definitely gives the scenery a much more realistic feel.
Yeah, it helps with some kind of reflection. Yeah, that's for sure.
Here's another. Let's see if I can get this helicopter in control here. Another look of how wood is used.
Yeah.
I like the way that looks. That just, I don't know. There are people out there that say they don't see the point in internal modeling, and it's not they're not playing The Sims. They're playing Flight Simulator.
So you're playing a sim.
But I mean, it really changes the dynamic in terms of how realistic a
Yeah,
scenery
it
can look.
certainly helps, at least when you have an airport like this where there's a lot of glass, you can see through it and all that stuff. So, personally, I'm a big advocate for internal modeling.
You said you are or you are not?
I am, definitely.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, this is what I would say. I mean, if there are people out there that's going to say, I don't need all this features and all that, I mean, they can just go install the first version and then see how happy they are in comparison to what they really could have. So I think that's a battle that I've been fighting for many years, and I like to think I'm on the winning end of it now. I think there are many developers out there that still don't really do it, but they've come up with other ways to kind of do it. But I think now, though, with the advent of prepared version 4 now, is that I think, especially, I was trying to land so we could see that thing there, but I didn't drop my gear. Is I think now, I think there's going to be a little bit less of a concern. I think performance is one of those things that's always going to be a concern, but not so much with memory. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and he's like, he's really excited about Fly Tampa going, to prepared version 4 because, Toronto is one of his favorite airports, but that's the one where 9 times out of 10 he's going to hit an OOM, and now, he's glad that that's not going to be an issue because, with Fly Tampa, performance has never been an issue, I don't think, in any of their airports, but Vast is, that's just one of those things that developers haven't really been able to fully kind of get away from. And as flight simulation enthusiasts, we all have always had to make concessions depending on where we're flying to and where we're flying from and whether or not we need to, stop the simulator and, save it and all this stuff. So, I mean, the fact that we won't have to worry about those things anymore, but then from the developer's perspective, I guess there's a lot that you won't have to worry about. So, I mean, do you going forward for your next project, do you see that as being a version 4 native project? And if so, what do you see yourself doing differently or taking more advantage of now that 64-bit is here?
Well, we're still, like you said, usually out of memory, and performance itself, it could be, you can have a scenery that performs really well when it comes to FPS and all that stuff, but still hit the out of memory. So having a completely native P3D4 version, I'm not sure it's going to happen right away, since a lot of people are still going to be sticking with the older versions. But from the SDK perspective on P3D, it's not really difficult to get most of the P3D V4 features implemented. So I guess we have to wait a little bit until we see how the market reacts. If a lot of people move over to version 4, it's likely that we could see some completely native and products that only for the latest version. We'll see.
I see. So not too much that we'll see happen overnight. I guess it'll be one of those gradual things.
Yeah, it's going to be gradual, yeah.
And now is probably an excellent time to bring our little friend out here.
You want to start walking around?
Yeah, let's take a look at some of this work you've done here up close.
Yeah, sure.
And I think Yeah, I think it was Alta, which was the airport that really kind of blew me away when, because let me think about that for a second. Did you do that with Bergen or not? I'm trying to think, because with Alta you added a lot of animated features. I think SODI dependent animated features where a door will open and a car will come outside and the door will
Oh
close.
yeah, that was Alta, yeah.
Yeah, so Alta was really kind of your first, and I think you've brought that back here as well.
Yeah, there's basically the service vehicles driving around. They're going to drive into the terminal, and the door will open up when they approach it.
Here, and I love how you've got all the colors here of these columns.
Yeah, there's a lot of colors in that area there.
Yeah, that's a really nice touch. I mean, and just the detail with the chairs, and there's so much detail here. It's pretty remarkable. Even the floor. I mean, just like the interior floor polygon.
Well, the floor is simple though. It's just a couple of tiles that repeat all the way though. So that's not that difficult.
It's just the detail of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, it's just, a couple of tiles kind of stitched together. But I mean, walking in on the floor, just on the inside, it's just a lot of detail there. And the GSE here is actually transparent as well. These transparent glass.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, really kind of talking about it after having spent so much time with it, but. And let's see, there's someone in the chat. Linder says he almost lives on top of the airport, so it's amazing to see how similar it is. And Tor Stranded is here.
It's weird. Yeah.
Holy crap! Well, listen, Tor, if you want to come in and join us, it'd be nice to hear you guys talk to each other. But if you're interested, let me see. I think I can email him. Let me see. I think I have Tor's email here. To get you and Tor on a chat, that'd be insane.
Yeah, he's at work.
He's at work. All right. Yeah, all right. You got out of it. He's at work watching the stream, so I don't know. Busted. Let's see if we can come back in here. Now we'll head over to the other side. Let me just...
Yeah, so this is the international part of the terminal. So it's called Terminal B.
Which is just kind of like right around the corner here. Yeah, those reflections really just make a huge deal on all that glass. It really does.
Yeah, it's certainly been.
And I really love the colors, the texture baking here. I mean, really, really nicely detailed.
So this part here used to be the old commuter area where Vidura used to park.
So what is this terminal kind of used for now, this little building here?
Actually, right now I don't think they're using it for anything, at least the last time I was there. I'm pretty sure they're using it as storage or something like that.
And speaking of the last time you were here, so how did you get the materials together for this? Did you get any assistance from anyone who worked at the airport? How are airport authorities in Norway? Are they pretty friendly with this sort of thing, or how did that all work out?
Yeah, they're pretty friendly. I took most of the images myself for Trondheim, and for the other ones, it's been a mix of people working at the airport taking the images for me and so on.
Any shout-outs?
I'm sorry?
Any shout-outs? Anyone who's going to be in the any special thanks for anyone who might be in the manual that you might want to give a shout-out to?
Well, I got a lot of help for Oslo, for V2 of Oslo. The guys that took the images there definitely get a Stein Ove Ruud. He was also Thomas Lorentzen took a lot of images. I think I forgot to push down the press to talk button. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I think you cut out there. You were thanking someone from Oslo.
Yeah, so Sten Ove Ruud and Thomas Lorentzen, they helped me a lot for Oslo, getting the images there. And then Kjell Arild Skogan, he took a lot of images for Trondheim for this version.
Really awesome. Yeah, it's really helpful when you have people that can help do those sort of things. I've actually done that myself as well. For the scenery that I'm going to be streaming later on today, I actually helped out a lot with on-site I won't say on-site photography, but for a lot of the objects and stuff in there. And I found it to be quite enlightening and fun because in order to take a picture, of something that can be used in Flight Simulator, I mean, there's a certain way it has to be done. It has to be done from a certain distance, and how those textures are applied. I mean, it's pretty enlightening stuff how this all happens. There's that closing door. I don't know why I'm so impressed with little things like this, but I don't know. It's just pretty exciting.
Small things, right? It's fun to look at.
Well, yeah, I think it's the thing that makes your airport, which is essentially, I mean, it's a scenery, but that's what makes it come to life,
Yeah.
That's what makes it come to life. It's just little things like that. Even for those who, they jump straight into the airplane and immediately they're jumping into the FMC and they're looking at their maps and they're planning their flight, and little things like that can catch your eye kind of in the background that just makes all the difference and just kind of gives you that little bit of extra feeling that, if anything, if it helps you forget that, this isn't real, you know what I mean? Just those little things that make all the difference.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have some kind of movement going around, like traffic or passengers moving around or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and right now you can probably noticing I'm hovering in this little spot right here, and that's because, again, I really want to note the amount of detail. I mean, we're not just looking at how nicely the textures and the colors are baked on. I mean, even on the door here, you can see even the door handles are 3D, which could have easily just been a 2D image. I mean, little things like that. But looking through the glass here, I'm going to try to bring this up here a little bit further. I mean, you see the signs there. I think it says shopping or something like that.
Yeah.
But then it's these interesting textures that we're looking at on the inside, and I'm trying to avoid going through the terminal, but I think I might have to, because these aren't hardened, so I don't think our little guy can walk around up those stairs.
No, you can't walk in there, no, but you can fly through it if you want.
Yeah, so just looking at some of these textures here, oops, I went a little too far. It's kind of hard to, unless I just hit the slew button. Yeah, just all these little textures here, and then technically speaking, even from the virtual cockpit, there's so much that, so many details here that you might not be able to see, but once you go inside, you've got, let me see if I can raise this just a little bit. You've got, I mean, the logos on the trash cans and the male and female restrooms, and you've even got this little artwork here with trees and the bird and the butterfly on there, and you can tell that the counters here are actually made out of wood in the boarding gate. Let's see, you've got an Aerosoft banner there, and what looks like what is this advertisement that we're looking at here with the gentleman in it?
Well, that's some really, really old advertisement that was there when I created V1, actually.
Oh,
so I had some images laying around from that.
And here's an interesting question to ask: do you at all do you do Easter eggs? Is there any Easter eggs in your works? That's something that someone might find on a hunt and think, oh.
There are some, yeah. It's nothing really too funny, I guess, but there's some Easter eggs going around.
And is any one in particular you might want to point out, or would you rather just let everyone kind of just maybe discover things on their own?
I guess that's the fun of Easter eggs, isn't it? Looking around, yeah.
Yeah, I actually, there's a couple of developers out there that have actually made me personally a part of their Easter eggs and their scenery. So,
Oh, really?
oh yeah. So for those watching, if they own a certain mega airport from a very well known developer, I'm actually on a billboard as 007 in one of their sceneries. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it actually shocked me in the developer when he told me. He goes, "Well, I was gonna put a porn star there, but then I put you there instead." So kind of a funny story there. But again, looking at the wood here, really love the use of wood, both internally and externally here in this arrivals area. So again, just incredible attention to detail here. It really is. And just looking at the background, the trees and the hills, and how this whole airport comes together. And I think that's why I was so fascinated with your first version of Trondheim, is because it wasn't just the airport, but it was the surroundings. You have this airport that just has this magnificent backdrop of hills and buildings and trees, and it just it's like I can't think of a better place to put an airport, because you've got terrain on one end, you've got the ocean on the other end. It's surrounded by hills and vegetation. It's just it really,
it's a really really nice location, that's for sure.
it definitely is. So I guess before we take a look at the night lighting and the winter textures, which will kind of conclude the stream, let's play around really quickly with the features, the boarding gate features. So we're going to switch aircraft here, because this is, I think, the coolest part about this airport is some of the work that you've done with the user aircraft, which I think is a lot of fun. So we're going to put this down. Oops, little sparks there. And let's grab an aircraft. We'll grab the Aerosoft Airbus, because I think that's one of the ones that works really well here.
Yeah, you have to have some kind of exits defined in the aircraft config file, but most payware and all the defaults should have them by default.
Okay, let's see. We're going to grab the... Let's see, and actually I should have... If it's here, I'm thinking I should have a Norwegian air shuttle. I don't actually see it. Well, I guess we'll just grab Niki Lauda's A320 here. That should do. And actually, I should probably taxi around the airport a little bit and just give everyone a nice point of view, looking at the airfield from the virtual cockpit here. Let's see, where's our airplane? There she is. I'm just going to slew it back over. I think we'll sort of taxi up to the terminal here. That way we can kind of see those lovely bridges that you've made. That should be good enough.
So you're not using shadow in Peak Review?
Let's see. The shadows are actually on, because we definitely saw them earlier with the other aircraft we had. Should we be seeing shadows here?
You should have some kind of shadows on the object. It's probably because they're placed as sim objects with SODA. So you have to... I think there's an option to display shadows on sim objects as well in the settings.
Let's see here. Or actually, better yet, let's see, lighting. Let's try this. Let's see what happens. And by the way, Tor, you said you're at work. You should be developing Bodo full time here. There we go. There we've got the shadow back, I think.
I actually lived a year in Bodo when I was in the military.
Ah, so you and Tor probably crossed paths at some point. You probably didn't even know
Maybe.
it. Let's see. Trying to get Chase plane back up here so I can get us back into the cockpit. There it is. I'm like, why is it taking forever? There we go. Okay, and if I can get it to stop moving, that should be okay. Okay, and then we'll just taxi around really briefly.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, I don't think my engines are started. Let's see if I can cheat and try to quick start the engines here by slewing it. Let's see. I don't know if that helped or not. For the sake of time. No, it's not going to agree with me, is it? Come on, help me out. Usually, gosh, every time I look down, it's like Track IR is timing out here. No, I'm not going to be able to
Not your
cheat.
day, huh?
Yeah, sometimes I can cheat and just get it to quick start. Doesn't look like it's going to do it for me this time. Hang on, let me try another one. Sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of like...
I guess it could be because you switched from a helicopter, maybe?
Well, maybe. The engine was still running, though.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see if this one will play nicely. Oh, doggone it. Okay, it didn't like that. It crashed.
No, really.
All right, we are what? We're 1 minute and 1 hour and 50 minutes into this. We're going to see if we can conclude this at 2 hours on the dot. We're going to do this quickly.
Sounds good.
Interesting chat. So anyway, we've managed to get quite an interesting turnout for an unusual time to be doing a live stream. So
Yeah, I guess it's kind of early or late for you.
yeah, it's funny because I get up in the morning and then I try to get these things done. And even though I'm technically on vacation, there are just other things that keep commanding my attention for whatever reason. So anyway, at Mr. Max, there's this little thing called Google Earth. It's almost as good as real life, buddy. I'm one of those kind of people that can spend hours on Google Earth just touring different parts of the world.
That's a nice thing with flight sim, though. You can go anywhere.
Exactly. Do you find that Google Earth is useful at all in terms of reference, in terms of like being able to see where certain buildings are located and roads and stuff like that, or?
Well, in Norway we have a really good mapping service with up-to-date ortho images and all that stuff. But Google Earth is definitely good for just getting a overall idea of how the scenery itself looks, still the surrounding area and all that stuff.
Let's see. Come on, prepared. Yeah, I guess I pushed it too hard. I wonder if this is one of the things, too, that we probably won't have to worry too much about in the future is getting crashes when selecting too many different aircraft in version 4. I wonder if it'll handle that better.
Yeah, I would assume so.
All right, let's see if we can do this quickly. Well, that Mr. Max looks, and if that's where you're from, that's where you're from. I mean, I won't fault you for that. Because listen, I'm from LA, and I think LA is a shithole. So I mean, I guess when you're from a certain place, you just, there's nothing special about it. And there are people that'll disagree, and they think Los Angeles is like this really amazing, wonderful, incredible place. So I guess I could.
That's where dreams are built, isn't it?
Huh?
That's where dreams are made. Los Angeles.
Where what's made?
Dreams are made.
Dreams, yeah. Well, that's where dreams are broken.
Might be. Molde is a real nice airport, though. I have flown there once, I think, during a cross-country flight.
Yeah. So he thinks LA is amazing. Yeah. Dude, we can switch. I'll go up to Norway where you are, where it's peaceful and there's like practically zero crime and an amazing GDP, and you can come on down to LA and sit in 2 hours of traffic to get 5 miles. Knock yourself out. And I'm a cyclist too, so all those rolling hills are just perfect. Fresh, clean air. You kidding me? Sunset Strip. That's where all the homeless people are, man. The Sunset Strip is filthy. Are you kidding me? I'll be honest. I haven't, I haven't been like in that area. I live within I think a quarter mile of the beach, and I very, very rarely go any further inland than that. Like we have the 405 freeway, and I almost never go east of the 405 freeway unless like there's some absolute reason that I absolutely have to. It almost never happens. So I don't spend much time in LA at all. I live here, I work here. My wife has a really good career here. She makes a lot of money. If it weren't for that, we'd be out of here already.
I guess it's kind of expensive to live here, isn't it?
It's extremely expensive to live here. Yeah, you don't want to know what I pay per month in rent. I pay more. I have a friend who has a 5-bedroom house with a 3-car garage and a pool and a jacuzzi. Really big modern house too that was built within the last, I think, 7 or 8 years. And what I pay almost 3 times a month in rent than he pays in his mortgage. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, my little apartment is it's kind of like a condo apartment, which is probably 1,500 square feet. So yeah, it's quite expensive, and it's actually getting more expensive too. Because this whole area is really gaining a lot of ground. A lot of people are moving into the area. Google and Yahoo actually just opened a campus, not even like 10 blocks from where I live. Literally, there's this community called Playa Vista. So Google and Yahoo, and I don't know if you've ever seen that television show Silicon Valley. That's on HBO.
Oh yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, well that's where they shoot that.
Oh really?
Because it looks like Silicon Valley. Yeah, because they've built all these. They've built basically this campus called Playa Vista, and so they've got all these sort of Silicon Valley looking buildings there, which probably is why Google and stuff moved into that area. So, and IMAX headquarters is there. They just moved their headquarters into there. So, I'm just going to grab an El Cheapo airplane here so we can get going. But, yeah, IMAX built their headquarters there. So, I mean, it's kind of a big deal, this whole area. So, yeah, they actually shoot that, just kind of like right down the street. I need an airplane that's going to turn on and just start working. Good grief. This is just taking forever. Everything I'm picking here is like nothing just wants to just fire up and go so we can kind of get on with it. But yeah, so a lot of that stuff is really driving up property values and rents and real estate. But, you know, to me, I see it as being worth it only because, you know, I don't have to sit in traffic to get to work. You know, my wife works in Manhattan Beach, and she takes literally the route that goes along the ocean, and she's at work in 15 minutes. And so it's very convenient. So I feel like, you know, we spend more time living our lives, and I could spend more time fooling around, you know, with Air Daily X, you know, as opposed to living in a huge house and, you know, having to take 3 hours to get to work back and forth every day. So I see that as being definitely worth it. I'm trying to go through my whole library here and see, like, what's something I can jump in here. All right, here we go. This is going to throw off a lot of people, but you know what? At the very least, I think it's going to work. This is something that's unusual.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. At the very least, I think it's something that should work. Maybe not. Come on. There we go. Finally, I've got something that's going to roll. Jeez. All right, I think hopefully the features will work with this aircraft, I hope.
This is Captain Sim, isn't it? Or
yeah, will it work with this?
Well, it should work as long as the aircraft or the developer assigned exit to it. It should work.
All right, let's cross our fingers and hope so.
Yeah, let's do that.
So I really want to show off these features. You put a lot of effort into them. Actually, I guess the first thing we should look at, since we're over here, it started us on the other runway, is the de-icing.
That's only during the winter, though.
Oh, you know what? Why don't we pull up the winter textures in? That's a good point. What's a good time of year?
I usually February, late February, because it's not too dark then.
Late February. Okay, let's do that real quick. Yeah, because we definitely
so the winter textures are a little bit different than what I've done on the previous sceneries I've done. Since it has multiple layers of ice and then snow on top of that again to get the specularity effect and all that stuff.
Right. Oh, yeah, that's right. We also want to be able to show off some of that as well.
Yeah, I guess we'll see it when we're taxiing around. So that should be fine.
Do I need to clear up the sky a little bit in order for it to work, or should we still see it?
You should still see it. You should be fine.
Okay. Almost there. 70%. And Mr. Max is asking, is there a release date set? And I know we did cover this a little bit at the beginning, but if all goes well, at some point this week.
Yeah, that's correct.
Actually, we can just, let me move my eye point forward a little bit here so that we can see those winter textures. And, you know, one of the things that I was telling you as well, I think that was last week or maybe week before last, that I love that the taxiways have snow on them, that it doesn't look so clean. So many developers, you know, you'll have snow in between the runways, but the tarmacs themselves will look so clean, and it just looks a little too clean.
Yeah, it's kind of off-putting if you have that sharp switch, I guess, between snow and just asphalt.
Let's see here. Let's see if we can take a look at that, and then we'll swing around here and check out the de-icers. And I think I need to pull up the SODI menu for that, correct?
Yeah, you need the SODI menu for that. So all of the animations are triggered via the SODI menu, same for the hangar doors and all that stuff.
here we go.
Yeah, you should park on mic 1 there.
Oh, the one in the middle?
Yeah.
Whoops. All right, that's fine. I think we can clean this up. And there's another question as to whether Trondheim will have support for P3D v4 right away.
Oh, yeah, it's going to have support right away, yeah.
Let me see. Is this far enough?
That should be fine, yeah.
Okay, so let's hit the parking brakes. And let's grab the menu. And we want mic 1, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And there they are, moving in. So usually when I'm streaming and I have all the shadows and everything turned on, it does tend to tax the system a little bit. So if you guys notice a stutter, just keep in mind that I am streaming, so that does do quite a bit. And there they go, backing off. Cool as ice. I like that.
Cool as ice.
All right, and then let's go ahead and turn around, and then we'll make our way over to the terminal.
What kind of AI traffic do you use?
I use it's kind of a custom package of a bunch of different, yeah. So, because I kind of like old liveries and stuff that aren't there anymore, like defunct airlines.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I like to have like a lot of that stuff kind of in there as well. So it's a made up of WAI, and I think there's even like some old Project AI stuff in there from way back in the day as well. Let me see. Let me kick off some of these shadows here, only because I want to try to bring the frame rate back up a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. I think as long as I keep it at sim objects, I think that should be okay. Not really. So. Yeah, just for the sake of the stream that way, because I know that's going to hurt people's eyes after a while. Oops. Okay, here we go. All right, let's make our way over to the gate. I guess we'll let, because this will be released soon, and I'm sure everyone will want to kind of play with it a little bit on their own. But just give us an idea of all of the animations that are currently available.
Oh, all the animations. Well, like you said, there's animated jetways and passenger boarding and all that. And then there's the ice you just showed off. And then there's 3 hangar doors that's animated. The Aero Club hangar and the Helitrans. And there's one more next to the ice platform that's animated.
I see. And
other than that, there's animations for the traffic driving around both on the road and the around the apron area for the service vehicles and all that stuff.
Actually, I just realized what's causing the frame rates. It's actually the airplane.
Yeah, it kind of dropped a bit when you.
Yeah, it dropped in the single.
switched, yeah.
Yeah, it dropped in the single digits. It's this plane. Someone actually recently released a fix too, in order to get this to to work better.
Oh, okay.
So I really need to look into that. Let me. Yeah, I was trying to figure out. I'm like, man, this shouldn't be anywhere near this bad. Something's up. Yeah, it's the memory leak. That's okay. Something that it leaks. That's at least European, right? All right, don't crash on me this time, please. Okay, that's better. Although I think, okay, this is a little bit better.
There we go.
Yeah. This thing's got the eye point like way in the back here. There we go. That's a little bit better. Actually, we can actually turn those shadows back on. Now that we know what the issue was, we can actually bring some of those back. Yeah, I thought that dropped a little bit too low. And it looks so much better too when it's, there we go. Okay. All right, so we'll pull up here. Man, that just looks incredible.
Yeah, adds a little bit more depth when you have the shadows on.
Yeah, it does. It really does. Let me see. What are my frame rates right now? We're getting 36. And just taking a look at the reflection there on the glass. That just looks incredible. Okay, I'm going to go to the outside. Although the docking system is there.
Yeah, I'll see if it works on this aircraft.
Let's see. Let me try to zoom in on that. Oh, stop. Okay, I guess I reached it. Let me see. Where are we in reference to the door? No, we need to move up a little bit more, even though it's saying stop.
Yeah, so right now that docking system is using the center point of the aircraft. So it's a limitation in SOTA that we can't use the viewpoint. So Jeffrey is working on a different module for SOTA that's going to have its own jetway system.
I see. Okay, I'm just going to pull up just a little bit further. Okay, we'll stop here. And let's see, let's zoom out a little bit because this is the fun part. Okay, and wait, what gate are we at here? .36. All right, so we're gonna click on. Let me see. I want to get. Oh, you know what? Let's do it this way. I really want to get the right viewpoint here.
Yeah, sure.
Here we go. Okay. And we're going to select stand. Terminal A, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
36. And there we go. Now our people are here. Let's see if I can move this out of the way here. Oh, what does it say? Oh, I got to dock it, of course. There we go. And there they are. And then if we come over to this end, we actually see the people kind of boarding down the jet bridge here.
Yeah.
Which is, again, a really, really neat feature. There they go. They have no luggage, but they're on their way to their flight.
Flying low cost, I guess.
There you go. And when we were just kind of talking behind the scenes a while back, you were saying that you're actually looking at ways to enhance this even further. These animations.
Yeah, we're looking into it. It's kind of dependent if we can make it work in Soda or not. So we'll see what happens.
And there they are. And I even like how that sort of little metal gate, little chain gate lowers and opens.
Oh yeah, the door itself.
Yeah, very nice feature. And there they are. They're boarding there. And I guess we should take a look at the night lighting.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know what the right time of day is in order to get the night lighting to work. Let's see. Let's try 5:30. See if that's dark enough. So yeah, I'm looking forward to actually looking at all these sceneries in version 3, especially with the new night lighting, and that's going to be a lot of
fun.
The
dynamic lighting and all that stuff.
Yeah. I pushed my luck. It did it again.
You crashed again?
Yeah. I'm really pushing my luck. Should we just restart it one more time for the night lighting? What do you think?
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
All right. We'll do it one more time. Yeah, I don't know how many planes I selected this time around, but this is one of those things that I'm really looking forward to not being a problem anymore. And, one of the utilities that I'm hoping to stream that I've been wanting to show off for a while is this Where's My Aircraft utility, where you can have your own hangar. I know a lot of us have said that, wouldn't it be great if we could have our hangar with all of our favorite FS add-on aircraft in one spot. And so this developer actually did it where you can place all of your user aircraft in a hangar, and you can go from one aircraft to the other. But again, the problem is you're still switching aircraft, which really kills VAS. But I think one of the things, before he, I guess, makes a version 4 of that, I think one of the things Prepared needs to look into is coming up with a way that you can go from one aircraft to another without having to reload the entire scenery from scratch. I think that's going to be the interesting thing, is to be able to just go from one aircraft to another, because in this utility, you can go from one aircraft to another, but once you get into that second aircraft, it's got to reload the whole scenery from scratch.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only downside about it. And I imagine that's probably what happens when you switch aircraft as well, is it's probably still reloading elements of the scenery. I could be wrong, but... Let's see. Come on. At least this time around, I don't even need to load an aircraft. We can just go straight to the night lighting, which is that's the most important part. So anyway, for those of you who are joining us live, I really appreciate your patience. Of course, you guys know by now to be really patient with my live streams. But if you're just joining in, or you're wondering what's going on, we are taking a look at Trondheim, which is due to be released hopefully this week. And we have the developer
that's correct.
Yep, and we have the developer Joe Erland that's with us and kind of giving us some of his insight into the blood, sweat, and tears that have gone into it.
Yeah, I'm trying my best.
ENVA, right? Yep, that's it. And as far as time and season, I really want to go back to winter, because that was really... the winter textures just look so nice. So we'll go back to late February, and what did we say? 5:30 before, I think. All right, hopefully that gives us just enough daylight. There's one question about cost.
I'm sorry? No, about how much it's going to cost?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a update price if you already own the old version. And I actually can't remember the price on top of my head, but it's in the same range as other airports that Aerosoft released at this site.
So that's some good news for those who have purchased the original version. But as far as the overall cost, I think it's easy to just kind of look at your other works of similar size, and it could be pretty easy to kind of piece it together.
I know it's not going to be 30 euros max. It's probably going to be around 18, 20 if I remember correctly.
Oh, really? You're going to just give it away for free, huh? Okay, let's see here. So if you guys are looking at a black screen, that's because that's what I'm looking at. Let me see. It's still loading. If I just go to my desktop, you can see here you're seeing what I'm seeing. I think it takes a second. Oh, it's just dark. That's what it is. Okay, there it goes. Okay, the light's coming in now. There we go. I think I'll use the time preview to try to get us some kind of daylight back. I find it's better to go in the opposite direction rather than using it to bring the lights on naturally, and then try to use the time preview to get a little bit of daylight at least.
Yeah, it helps a little bit.
There we go. And let's see, I'll just slew up a bit so that we can see those night lights. So all custom runway lighting, and
yeah, it's all custom. It's controlled by Soda.
very bright and vibrant lighting. And then we'll move over to the terminal. Is that a 747? What? What airline is this?
It looks like it.
I don't even know what airline that even is. I've never heard of that. Wamos. Yeah, so just looking at the night lighting here, it's already easy to see just how much more spectacular this already looks in version 4. I can tell you already. And when it comes to the way you did the night lighting here, I guess you don't have to really do this anymore, huh? Having to...
Oh, you mean like night textures and all that stuff?
Yeah, add the textures to the ground and onto the buildings. I guess you really won't have to worry about that too much anymore.
Well, if you kind of have to include it because it's possible to deactivate the dynamic lighting. So if a user deactivates it, you don't want to have a completely pitch black airport.
Oh, I see. Now, will you have any control over how the simulator sends that light? Or is it, like, how does that work exactly?
It's pretty much an effect file, and you can control the parameters of the light, so how wide it's going to be and how bright it's going to be and so on.
I see. And there we go. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. I even like how the that lighting on the vehicles too, how they light up the ground, and there's like little volumetric lighting on the trucks as well, which is really awesome. So anything else? Because I mean, you've been really patient, and you've given up a lot of your very important time to kind of hang out with us and give us a little bit of your insights. Is there anything else that you'd like to tell us about the scenery, or?
I think we pretty much covered the most of it, haven't we?
I think we did in the almost 2.5 hours that we've been at this now. This did not at all go according to plan. And again, for you guys watching, I mean, this was supposed to start several hours before it actually did. So I spent time troubleshooting hardware issues with my mic and sound and all that. So hopefully I'll have that all kind of worked out so that I can start on time. If you haven't noticed already, I'm doing another stream at 1700 Zulu. What time is it there, your time now?
It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
2 o'clock, and then, what is that, like in 4 hours, I'll be doing another stream, I think. So, so once again, everyone, I want to thank you all for tuning in, and we did show the Sodi Jetways and Passengers already, so you can go back and watch the replay. I'll have this up on YouTube in a short while. Again, this should be released hopefully sometime at the end of this week or during this week, or maybe it could even come today. I guess it all depends on Aerosoft and how quickly they can get that all going, because the scenery is done, the beta has included, so it could literally be, I guess, any time now. So, but Joe, I really want to appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. So I don't think anyone has ever heard your voice before.
I'm the silent guy. Well, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun, and I look forward to whatever it is that you're planning on developing next. I know it's going to be amazing. So even I don't know, but I'm sure it's going to be really spectacular wherever you go next. And just, again, a reminder for all of you that all of the previous or current sceneries from Joe is currently, many of them actually have already been completed and ready for prepared version 4. That includes the airport scenery here. So we should be seeing those drop again really soon as well. So I should have the replay coming up here pretty soon. And I guess that should be about it. I'm going to go to bed and try to grab a nap before I get up and and then start doing this all over again.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan for you.
Well, I'll let you get back to work because you have a lot more wonderful works in store for us. So I'll let you get back to it. And we'll see you next time. And for everybody else, thanks for tuning in. And remember, tune back in a few hours, another live stream. I'm out of here. Take care, everybody.
Goodbye, guys.